G'day everybody. I just want to talk about traveling with dogs with your bike off lead. And today's incident, as I like to educate and understand why things happen and what can we do about it. And talk about how things do happen when incidents happen. And so once again, I've travelled late, till as late as you can get. As you can see, it's night now. Just got back, and I ran into people with dogs, as we do, and most people walk dogs late in the afternoon, as we do too, as it's cooler, definitely in summer. But I want to talk about dogs off leads and small towns and towns. See, all towns have different ways of seeing dogs, right? So sometimes you can go to a place and have dog signs everywhere and go, yeah, dog's fine. And then you go to a place like cities and then they'll be like, no, no dogs, not even on lead, kind of thing. You get to more of a crowd, more than, you know, hundreds of people and just crowded like cities. You don't really need animals there. You shouldn't be walking them, stuff like that. And if you live there, you shouldn't have a dog there anyway. And that's pretty much how they set it. Unless you have a little tiny nothing. As some people would call them, a rat dog. Something that fits in your purse, like Paris Hilton. I see city people who live in the city in apartments and stuff like that as people with Paris Hilton dogs, or you don't have a dog, right? And so when they have those dogs, I'll have them on leads, and you see them walking around those type of dogs in cities. You wouldn't really see it unless it's a guide dog, a bigger type breed dog. And so when you have that, you expect people not to have, dogs off their lead running around, going through crowds, every crowd there. You probably get dog pinks and you'll be running through a crowd and then you go, where's my dog? You probably wouldn't want to do it, right? In certain areas when it comes to cities, when it's right in the street areas of cities, the best way to put it. You can go on beaches, you can go to parks and certain areas like that, and in back roads and your house, street areas, stuff like that. But I'm talking about the actual city part. You wouldn't want to have a dog there. And I've seen people take some dogs into certain areas like that that are very busy, like complexes and stuff like that. It's not advised either to have dogs around. Definitely if it's got issues. So when it comes to dogs, the best way to solve a lot of problems is education, as they say. We educate the people about dogs and how dogs are and how things should be. Right? You should always be wary when it comes to dogs, and never not to say not be wary, because you don't know what could happen. A lot of dogs do get out and are dangerous. Right? So being wary is also the number one cautious thing to have when it comes to dogs or any animal that's out in the street, no matter what they say. As all animals can be anything, just like a human. Depends on its life, training, and what it's gone through, just like humans. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to animals, the most dangerous animal on this planet is humans. Right? They're the most people should fear, and you have the same cautious towards them too. And so we come back to sizes and towns when it comes to dogs off lead. That's what's been on my mind a lot. As things grow, you used to be able to do one thing, but then perhaps later you can't, right? As things can change too when it comes to how people see animals and what type of animals they get. Right? And so if you're in a place where there's lots of little dogs, you might get problems with your dog off the lead, which is the whole point I was trying to get to about dogs off the lead and issues that you can have. Now, a lot of country places have big long paths that you can go on a bike ride. And we've got one here where they're a long path where you can go for a walk or a bike ride along. Could do with a bit wider, but we are a small town. It all depends on how much people use it too. Then they can upsize it or change it. Where you can take your dog. A lot of people have their dog off still. Not as much as it used to be, but every 10 or so people, definitely when people are out walking dogs or riding a lot, you will see someone with a dog off the lead. As it's hard to have a dog on the lead. When you're riding a bike, it's also dangerous, right? And it can wrap around people and do all sorts of crazy stuff. And so a lot of people like dogs off their lead. Friendly dogs would live on a farm or near farm areas or farm towns. Farm dogs can be on the back of their car and do their thing and bark and all that in a little country town with a couple of shops in it, you see, and they're fine. But when you come to the city and your dog's doing that, everyone will be going, what's your dog's going to dehydrate once this? And you get all these other different opinions. And so where's the point where it goes from country town to city? And how can we tell the people about that when it comes to animals and where we can move to? Because I like to get into all sorts of areas. And so I want to also find out myself with an animal, where would the best place be? And at the same time I find out, I can also, for myself, also find out for others and work it out for others as well at the same time by going through issues and speaking my issues when it comes to dog off the lead. Right? Now, Stella's never bitten a dog in her life. She's retaliated like that, but she's never bitten a dog in her life. She bit a dog. It had to be a big dog, otherwise she'd do a lot of damage. But she growls. She goes back like that, like little dogs do a lot. But she's never actually bitten anything except her own toys and the things she chews. Isn't that right, Emma? Correct. And then when it comes to Tess, our little dog, little Chihuahua ones, yeah, they can bite and they can draw blood and they can hurt kids a lot. And you got to watch them, definitely when they get older. Typically with the bigger dogs, when they get older, they get less vicious and attacky. If they're that type of breed, they actually mellow out. They don't get more vicious. They tend to get more lazy and sit around. And, definitely staffy type of dogs and boxers and stuff like that tend to slow down. Where the little dogs, they tend to get more snappy and dangerous. They slow down too, but they become really snappy because they're small and delicate, and that's obviously so they get very vicious and become dangerous dogs. And it can actually becomes to dangerous dogs, right? Stella wouldn't even hurt a cat. Cats have hurt Stella. She's ran to a cat before running in her runs, and the cat held its ground. You know those cats. I've had a cat like that. Named Bridget. She used to attack dogs too, definitely little ones. My cat Bridget attacked Emma's mum's little dog once. Remember that, Emma? Yeah, little Bridget. Yeah, and I stayed there. Now it was Bridget. She comes flying out and she took out a little poodle. She was that as big. I think she was bigger than the actual dog itself, so it was easy to get on. But she done that. She even did the big ones, and they got self-killed. Some cats have bowls and a bit of stupidity sometimes, but it also can be a good thing. It all depends if you're fighting something for nothing. But Tess has also teeth problems because of her biting other dogs. Isn't that right, Emma? Yeah. That's little dogs, and the big dog, and that was a biting a boxer. It was biting a boxer. And the boxer didn't bite her. And I went, huh? And there's this thing latched onto her like a piranha, right? And we couldn't even get her off like a piranha. And because she's hanging there and we're pulling a little bit, she done her teeth. And now her big teeth came on. And she's all upset and got more crankier because she couldn't have dry food much anymore, and her teeth went downhill from that point onwards as well. But yeah. So that's little dogs. So back to dogs off lead. And today it was all good. Usually we avoid people if we can when it comes to dogs off lead. Try to get around things. Depends on the traffic around, all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to dogs off lead, it comes to, like I said again, education. Right? So if we're all educated in a certain way, things don't turn out so bad. So you'd be educated for safety, which is, like I said, you should always have that. And I talk about that because today's incident is a little bit about safety and little dogs and temperaments and stuff like that. That's what I'm talking. So usually a person that's riding on a bike and the dog's off the lead, he'd be stupid to have a crazy dog that bites or can bite, right? It'd be sort of stupid, wouldn't it, Emma, to have a dog off lead and to do that in that risk. You'd do that somewhere in the private area. They take it to parks and do certain things like Stella's had when she's younger. Yeah, you wouldn't have Tess off lead. Yeah. She'll run off, she won't listen, she's stubborn. She'll listen now, but she definitely won't listen out. Outside, little dogs tend to do that kind of thing as well. Which is why they're more bitey and stuff like that. But Stella went to go run towards someone, and she's already running anyway. But she's got a thing where I can't stop it. She just likes definitely little things. Stella likes little things. Rats, mice, she'll sit there staring at them for ages. She doesn't want to hurt them. She might hurt them by pawing a mouse or something. I've got to make sure she's careful. But she likes little things. She won't hurt them. And she tends to run big dogs. She actually tends to stay away from, definitely at the dog parks too. Isn't that right, Emma? Right, so I find, or her same size, she don't mind. She's not too bad with big dogs now. She might say a quick hello, but other than that, she's fine with dogs as long as the other dog is not bad. So when people have dogs off lead, um, they need to watch what's going to happen. So you have people who can have an aggressive dog on lead, which they're allowed to go for a walk and have it on the lead to walk. And so how can we fix the problem with a person with a dog off the lead on a lead because it's aggressive, and then a dog off the lead going past that may say hello, right? Because when you get them off the lead, you've got to practice that part too to get them to stop saying hello when they're off the lead, right? And which is putting back on the lead and off the lead, and she's been like that for a while. But occasionally, definitely if I haven't been out for a while, so you've got to take dogs out a bit more often in this case. She likes to run to the dog. She'll just run up to it and say hello, have a sniff or something like that, right? Or run close. Right? And today she did the same thing. We're already on a nice strip. A few cars were driving past. I couldn't cross the road or anything, so I had to get past. And they had a little dog. This guy had a dog. And he was looking at me, I was looking at him, watching the dog. I'm like, oh, I guess these dogs are all right. And time I got close enough to where, 10 feet, 15 feet, you can actually talk without yelling and screaming. Stella was already in front of me. She always gets in front. Was there. And he started kicking his feet. Right? Like, you get the panic mode, like, shit, my dog's going to get eaten. Right? And you go to kick at the dog. And you got to watch that sometimes because some dogs, they're all right. And if you're kicking them, then they're not. Isn't that right, Emma? Yeah. Right? So kicking is not a good thing. Right? And yeah, that's right. You can stir the dog up and make it want to attack you. So you only do that if it's necessary, like it will attack you and you're trying to defend something. But I also see the point where if you don't know the dog to do such a thing. But if I was off, for me, and I've had it before because I've had farm dogs around and been in those other country towns, and it's all good with those type of dogs, right? They might even have little tiffs, but they're never going to be a bad thing. They're used to it. They've had it before. That's how they mingle. It's like humans having a fight. Doesn't mean they've had one fight. Doesn't mean they're going to be a fighter. Isn't that right, Em? Right? And dogs are the same, right? Whenever Stella had a dog stay here for a little while through family, they should have a couple of fights, and that's about it. And then after that, there'll be never fights. But when it comes to animals, they mostly would be fights, like growling at each other, or just a couple little, like they never attacked each other, but it was like that kind of thing. Over toys and stuff like that, yeah, like they were about to blue. I'm gonna have to step into it because they'll be going off. But other than that, that's what dogs do. So how can we avoid that point? Now I've talked about jackets. We can have jackets to help identify dogs, but that doesn't help the other person who's walking a dog. So if I'm off lead and she's already running there, how can we avoid that happening? Right? Well, it takes everyone to tango. Right? So it gets back to education. So if you believe that your dog is vicious or still in training, definitely if you've got a little one, right? It's easy for a little one. And I've noticed most in these cases, that's why I'm speaking about it now, it is an issue when it comes to really small dogs that a human can easily pick up. Right? In those cases, you're better off picking up the dog if you're worried about a bigger dog that might be coming over to eat the dog, right? And so you pick it up. So if I saw a dog off a lead and I was worried about my dog and it was a bit aggressive, every now and then, it doesn't happen all the time unless you're in a park area where you can just full of dogs and stuff like that you see in cities in some areas that allow those little areas. But other than that, it's all good, right? Big dog or not. And so I had today a person going to kick its tail, freaking out, and so I got a bit close. And so I pulled up and just mentioned, it's all peacefully, which is good because I got a peaceful outcome on this one. We don't always get peaceful outcomes on certain issues. But you still got to talk about it because leaving it doesn't solve nothing. And so I just quickly stopped and just said, look, Stella won't hurt your dog. And if your dog's, if you're worried about your dog, a little dog, you should just pick it up. Instead of kicking at a dog and panicking, you're better off picking it up. And then he just explained to me that, oh, no, sorry, I didn't mean to attack your dog. I wasn't sure if it was vicious or not. But like I said, if we use our common sense in that area, that can be solved because I get told at work all the time and go work with a boss that use your common sense, right? So that's why we have common sense. Usually it's going to be 99% good, but the dog's just going to stay alone. And if you're worried that your dog hasn't seen bigger dogs that much and all that kind of thing, you should pick it up. because more than likely dogs off lead don't usually tend to run over and jump unless they're very fresh. But usually you can get them out when they're on the lead. And so if you pick a dog up, you're usually right. I've seen a couple of people do that before, and they've definitely done the right choice, because the worst thing about when you pick them up, they get a little bit annoyed. I've seen them. And I understand, because I've been there before with little dogs, so I don't take them out. That you pick them up and the little dog's going off its nutter, that they're nearly like biting their face, holding the dog. You know that, Emma? And then they're giving you the look because their dog's going off and they look stupid with his tantrum. Going, ah. So it goes both ways, and that's just getting along, isn't it? That's what life is. But the more we interact with that, the more it'll go away. Like the old days, we used to interact, and now we don't interact. It's like kids on the phone. They're losing ability to contact and go through those normal interactions that can happen every now and then, that are usually very small to sort out. But yeah, so that's what we have. And other than that, usually most people just let all those things go. We just yell at each other in certain areas, and some areas have laws and certain things. But I prefer that people sort out things themselves, and if a law needs to come in certain areas, they would come in, because there'll be too many issues happening all the time. So if you have too many issues that are violent issues, not issues of complaint. See, these days we just get people going, oh, I just don't want the dog there. Oh, I just don't want to pick up my dog. I just don't want this. They're not willing to see the point in the issue. They just want to complain. Don't you think, Emma? Yeah, and because we get that, then we get a law made, then no dogs are allowed to do nothing. Then we'll have certain dogs that'll turn out to be the dogs that they end up fearing, because they'll be locked up and put in the backyard, and not to go on walks so much and all that kind of thing. And some dogs you don't want on a lead, right? They start off quick too. And so they're big dogs like Stella. A lot of people don't want to walk Stella because she'll be dragging you for a while. Isn't that right, Emma? And she's best off the lead. After a while, when she's off, after 10 minutes, she's a big dog, she'll slow down a bit, and then you can have her on the lead, right? And walk her. But at first, no, she'll be dragging you for a while. And it pulls people's arms and hurts people's arms and stuff like that. But anyway, that other guy just said, yeah, sorry, that he didn't mean to kick at the dog or anything. He was just worried. And he actually apologised. It was the first one I had in a while. And said, sorry about that. And I said, no, that's all good. It's all right, be cautious. If you're just worried, just pick up the dog. Pretty much. And I left it out and said, that's okay. All right, pretty much. That's how it went. Not exactly word to word, but pretty much went down like that. He was kicking because he was worried about the dog, and he didn't mean to do anything. But once I said he could pick up the dog, I think he realised that that's what he might do next time, or something like that. Because there's no need to apologise either, in a way, if you believe that your dog's friendly, you're just worried about it. And maybe, well, you do by kicking. That's probably what he's apologising for. But not apologising by retaliating, as long as the things don't go bad. But you've got to try not to kick. Right? And he was going, I wasn't kicking, but I was just telling you, well, you're walking, and then said, it looks like you're kicking into a dog. Good. And then one day you could go to kick and your dog bites your leg off. So it goes all the way around, isn't it? There's rights in everything and wrongs in everything. It's a balance in between of how the interaction goes down. So you don't want the education to go good in both ways, to know the right steps and to get along. That's what getting along is. If you don't have it both ways, well, then you need a law, because you can't get along. That's what laws are for, because collectively you just don't get along. And so a law will come in to fix that. So the places with more laws technically saying to everybody that they need that and can't get along, and they're going to have to try to fight for that law back. And that's what can happen a lot too when we get laws made. It's easy to get it made, right? And it happens, but it's hard to get rid of them. Anyway, have a good one out there, and see you later. Dogs off lead. Let me know what you've had when it comes to that, and certain issues that you might have had. Dog off lead. And what's the best way would you take than what I just said when it comes to big dog and little dog, and people not knowing the dog interactions of off lead, because it happens all the time. And you'll pretty much come to, I would expect you to say, it just comes to common sense and knowing each other's dogs and doing the right actions. Would save pretty much 90 to 95% of dog accidents if we do these certain steps. But there always is those areas where you walk around the corner, you're not looking for a minute, and things will happen. And that'll always be there, no matter if you have dogs on lead or off lead. Incidents like that still happen. In fact, some people walk past people too close with dogs on lead, and then all of a sudden the dog leashes across and gets the other dog. Even leads don't stop dogs from fighting, but it does help a lot when it comes to controlling where they are. But anyway, see you.